Today's video is brought to you by XS Sites. I'm out here today preaching the good word of the XS Big Dot site. If you don't like the XS Big Dot site, then you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I started using the big dots because I took a low light force on force class. If you've never had that experience, I could totally see why somebody wouldn't select that site, but it is my go-to site. They offer a whole bunch of other things out there, and XS has been a big time, long time supporter of the channel. So I very much appreciate them supporting the mission here at the VSO Gun Channel. Let's get into the video. All right, folks, I'm just going to come right out and say that, normally we cover Second Amendment news on this channel, and, we try to tie everything that we cover into the Second Amendment somehow, and I'm just going to come straight out and say it that I cannot find a tangible link for this one whatsoever. I mean, maybe you could say that some of the bodies that stack up around these people likely implicate weapons in some way. Maybe you could do that, but that is a tertiary touching of the Second Amendment at best. So we're just going to chalk this one up to, this is pop culture, and this is really important to a lot of folks, and I'm going to explain why. But today we're talking about the Epstein list. So you saw this huge debacle where they basically supposedly handed the Epstein list out to a bunch of influencers. I really hate that term, but people who were loyal to the Trump administration, which is super cringe, right? But as far as I understand, the information that I have is the binders. You guys all saw the photos of the people with the binders, right? That contains the redacted list of the Epstein files, basically. And this was done, as far as we can tell, to specifically thumb their nose at the mainstream corporate press, basically saying, hey, y'all aren't real press corps. Y'all are political activists that are integrated with the DNC. We don't really consider you viable anymore, and we're going to hand this stuff to people who are not you, basically. And I see that stunt as it is, for what it is, and I sort of get the troll, right? However, this is an issue that is so pervasive that I think they probably should not have played with it in this way. I understand why they did it, or at least I can conceptualize why they did it, but it was a really bad move, and let me explain why. People are so sick and tired of the two-tier system of justice, okay? We know that this dirtbag, let's be clear, Epstein was an absolutely dirty person, and his business partner, who is in prison, Ghislaine or whatever her name is, we know that they ran a very nasty human trafficking organization. And basically, as far as we know, they have run the highest profile exposed human trafficking ring known to man to no one. The government knows who has been there. We don't know who has been there. We have some good guesses, but as far as we know, no one ever visited that island. Now, as far as you and me are concerned, as far as the American people know, not a single person that appears under those little black bars on those pages has been prosecuted for a damn thing. We're talking about some of the most heinous crimes that can be perpetrated. Were perpetrated against people who could not defend themselves or were not even old enough to understand what was being done to them. And we know that the government has the list. They will not give it to us. They have not given it to us. And as far as we know, nobody participated in this, even though the people who ran this ring were highly innervated in our government. They knew everybody. It doesn't matter who is on that list. We don't care what political party they are associated with. We don't care about their political affiliations. We don't care what positions of power they are in or have held in the past. We don't care how much influence they currently have in current affairs. We do not care what good or evil they have done for anything in the past. We want to know who they are. And that information should not be gatekept by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That information should not be gatekept by a small group of influencers. It ought to be published unredacted on the front page of the fucking White House website. Whitehouse.gov, there should be a little menu on the side of it that says, see what Doge did today. See what litigation we're doing today. And then right underneath that should be Epstein files. Click full download so that every person on the planet can download it and run with it. That, Mr. President, Ms. Attorney General, and Mr. Director of the FBI is the standard that we expect from you, and we will accept nothing less. Now, it is my opinion that this was, again, a stunt to screw with the mainstream media. And I also believe the secondary objective of that stunt was to whip people up and get them upset about this again, because they fully do intend to publish the whole thing. That is what I expect to happen, and that is what I think is going to happen. I don't think that this administration at this juncture can afford to do anything else, right? Because they're sitting there and they're making huge progress. If they let something like this go, this is the first roadblock in a mire, right? They'll have broken a campaign promise, and they, especially this early in the administration, they may never recover from that. So they absolutely have to release this. I fully expect that we are going to see this maybe as early as this afternoon. That would be hilarious if they just dropped it like 4:59, like, or maybe right after the press corps. That's what they should do. Mr. President, Ms. Attorney General, and Mr. Director of the FBI, publish the whole list like 45 minutes after the entire press corps goes home for the day on Friday. That's what you ought to do. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments section down below. And hopefully we'll see you probably tomorrow on another video that's a little bit more Second Amendment related. But this one, I justifiably so, has a lot of people upset because they are so sick and tired of these Hollywood elites, these lobbyists, these deep state officials, these elected officials, whoever they are. We are so sick of rules for me, but not for thee. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the JFK files, and the president has just addressed this, and they're planning on releasing the JFK files. There's been a lot of work being done on those, like thousands of pages on that. And while I think it's important that the American people understand the role that their government played in that incident, that pales in comparison to how important something like the Epstein files are, because the people who participated in that are still active in our government. They're still doing things there. And they should be excised from our government. We should know who they are, and they should be a pariah. We don't care that they are embarrassed about having taken a ride, or their families will be hurt. We don't care about that, all right? That does not even rank, I'm sorry, because that is the minimum that should happen to them, let alone what happens down the road. Down the road. Maybe this is, now that my brain's going, maybe this is like one of those weird hunt things where they like put something out and see who runs, and then they like, oh, they got a head start. Let's go hunt them down from across the world. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Demented.